The cold glow of distant nebulae brushed against the expansive viewport of the vigilant dawn, casting shifting ribbons of violet and cerulean across the bridge. Commander Thalara Oren stood silent, her slender frame silhouetted against the swirling tapestry of stellar dust. Behind her, the Valarian Council's emblem, a triple helix of silver light, gleamed on holoscreens, attesting to the gravity of her commission, to seek out forgotten corners of the Orion expanse and chart what lay beyond known space. For as long as she could remember, the Valarian people had dedicated themselves to the pursuit of knowledge. Their star mappers traced countless worlds. Their xenobiologists cataloged hundreds of sapient species. Their historians compiled tomes of interstellar lore. And yet, among the many entries in the Council's archives, one subject remained shrouded in half-truths and rumor: humanity. Stories told of a bipedal species from a pale blue planet orbiting a modest yellow star. They were said to have forged a mighty armada, woven alliances across the galaxy, and then without warning vanished. A solar flare, a fissure in spacetime, warp drive experimentation gone wrong. No one knew for certain. Over centuries, the tale of humanity slipped from historical footnote to myth, until most scholars dismissed it as little more than an entertaining campfire yarn. Yet Thalara found herself inexplicably drawn to these legends. Beneath the veneer of myth lay tantalizing possibilities, lost technology, hidden knowledge, perhaps even survivors floating amid the cosmic dark. Such thoughts ran counter to the Council's official position, which held that pursuing a legend was a fool's errand. But some instincts could not be stifled. Moments earlier, she had sat in the Council chamber, an amphitheater carved into the heart of the living asteroid known as Vakar, listening to an elderly historian drone on about the non-existence of humanity's fleet. Her fingers had hovered over the console, ready to interject about the anomalous readings she had encountered on the rim of the expanse. But decorum prevailed. Senior counselors frowned upon unsanctioned missions, marking them as reckless and indulgent. After the meeting, while her peers assembled star charts and adjusted hyperdrive calibrations, Thalara slipped away to her private quarters. There, a tangle of freshly printed data streams blinked on her desk: energy flux signatures, gravitational distortions, and most curiously periodic pulses traced to a remote region beyond charted borders. She pored over the logs again, heart thrumming with equal parts excitement and dread. The signal was real, not a sensor glitch. 3 pulses, a pause, 3 pulses, on loop, as steady as a heartbeat. She tapped a command sequence. The holomap zoomed out to reveal a swath of unclaimed systems, each blinking like faint embers in a dying fire. One coordinate marked only by an alphanumeric glyph showed the strongest signal. But what lurked there? A derelict station, a natural phenomenon, or something alive? Thalara leaned back in her chair, the plush fabric whispering beneath her. Her mind traveled back to the legends she'd read as a cadet, starborn knights of humanity's armada, wielding weapons that bent the fabric of reality. Archive vaults brimming with millennia of knowledge. Fleets capable of outrunning the fastest Valarian corvettes, undeniably romantic, but always fleeting, always unverified. And yet the pulse she'd recorded resonated with the same broad frequency. Bands described in those myths of forgotten technology that could only have been designed by human hands. Her comlink chimed softly, and Lieutenant Rail's voice crackled through the speaker. "Commander Oren, the Vigilant Dawn is awaiting your orders. Course laden for the Kappa Expanse coordinate. Estimated arrival, 20 cycles." Thalara's chest tightened. "Understood. Maintain stealth drive. No cloaking field will avoid detection by remaining dark. Notify the bridge. Prepare long-range scanners and red band encryption. I want continuous logs of any transmissions or anomalies." "Aye, Commander." The line went silent. She closed her eyes, envisioning the black velvet of space pierced by that rhythmic beacon. A shiver coursed through her as the implications solidified. If this signal emanated from human design, contact would rewrite Valarian history. It could topple established power structures, trigger a scramble for relics, and perhaps even spark conflict among those who coveted lost human artifacts. Later, on the bridge, Thalara took the tactical chair. Around her, the crew moved with practiced efficiency, Navtech scanned for sidereal hazards. Engineers monitored fusion core stability. Communications officers tuned subspace channels to pick up even the faintest echoes. The Vigilant Dawn, a sleek exploration frigate, felt alive beneath her fingers as she calibrated the sensor rays to focus on the uncharted sector. Lieutenant Rail, youthful and keen-eyed, reported from the navigation console, entering the Expanse, anomalous subspace turbulence at vector 112.7 by 45.3. We're seeing fluctuations in the local warp matrix. Thalara nodded. Proceed at quarter impulse. Maintain shields at minimal power, just enough to deflect microdebris, and preserve energy for our scanners. I don't want to tip off any local powers that we're here. The tension aboard the ship was palpable. Whispered conversations halted whenever Thalara passed. Curious glances flicked toward the forward hatches. Rumors circulated. She's hunting ghosts, another academic crusade. If she finds nothing, she'll be reprimanded for wasting resources. Yet some newer crew members watched her with admiration, sensing the fervor behind her calm exterior. As the Vigilant Dawn threaded its way through eddies of stellar gas, the signal strengthened. The three-pulse rhythm became clear across multiple sensor channels. The beats reverberated through the ship's conduits, a phantom drum reminding every soul aboard of the unknown just ahead. Then the holomap flickered, revealing an opaque silhouette against the starfield. The shape was enormous and triangular, a fortress of metal drifting between two collapsing star remnants. Surrounding it lay the fractured husks of massive vessels, their hulls pocked and corroded. Like warships entombed in cosmic ash, a collective gasp rose from the bridge crew. Even seasoned officers hesitated before commanding view screens. The graveyard of derelicts stretched as far as the aft sensor grid could detect, as though an entire battalion had perished here in some ancient skirmish. Lieutenant Rail's voice trembled as he whispered, "My God, this much wreckage. Whoever built these ships had a fleet to rival the Council's armada." Thalara's heart pounded. The triangular ship at the center was intact, its hull bearing strange glyphs that pulsed with lingering energy. She magnified. The view, there, emblazoned on its prow, was the symbol she'd only seen in dusty archives, a ring of 13 stars, cradling a planet silhouette. Ancient human iconography, she murmured, recalling the crude renderings from Council records. If this is what I think it is, they never vanished. They merely slept. She cleared her throat, voice low but steady. "Bridge, this is Commander Oren. We have visual on the source of the pulses. Initiate passive hails. Attempted decode the pattern, see if there's a data payload within that rhythm." Sensors hummed as they switched modes. A soft cascade of tones filled the bridge before converging into discernible syllables. 13. Stasis, awaken. More static, then silence. Thalara held her breath. "Broadcast through full-spectrum channels," she ordered. "Let them know we are explorers, not aggressors. Send coordinates, identification protocols. Play a warm frequency, something non-threatening, and stand by." Moments stretched into eternities. Then a voice, alien, yet unmistakably human, resonated through every speaker on the bridge. It was deep, rumbling, as though echoing through corridors long since emptied of life. "We are the 13th Expeditionary Fleet. To any who receive this, stand down. We bear no ill will, yet stand ready to defend our charge." A hush fell. The Valarian crew exchanged stunned glances. The voice spoke with an accent that had vanished from known human colonies. Centuries ago, preserved here in stasis. Thalara felt a shiver of awe, mingled with reverence, ripple through her chest. This is not a legend, she breathed. It's a promise. Outside, the derelict vessels lay dormant, silent witnesses to a forgotten war. Within each battered hull, secrets slept in cold stasis, awaiting the day when the heartbeat of their fleet would stir once more. And here, at the edge of the expanse, humanity's echo had whispered through the void, calling them home. The Vigilant Dawn drifted into the spectral miasma of the derelict graveyard, its hull scanners bathing the colossal field of wreckage in soft cerulean sweeps. Billions of tons of shattered armor and corroded alloys floated in eerie suspension, half buried in drifting clouds of ionized gas. The ship's external lights cut through the gloom, revealing gaping breaches in hulls, shattered bridge domes, and mangled turrets frozen in the moment of their own destruction. Commander Thalara. Orin stood at the observation port, hand pressed against the transparent composite. Her reflection shimmered alongside the silent armada of ruins. It's as if time itself stopped here. She murmured, no debris field radiating outward, no signs of salvage. They were entombed all at once. Lieutenant Rail stepped up beside her, brow furrowed, and yet the beacon remains active. If this was a cataclysmic battle, then someone or something restarted the pulse. Thalara's lips pressed into a thin line, or the stasis mechanism failed and rebooted. Either way, we need eyes on that central vessel, on the bridge. The helmsman spun the ship slowly round the triangular command ship, its sharp prow pointed like a dagger toward the silent star. All 13 of its angular turrets now inert, still bristled like frozen sentinels. Strange runic etchings coursed along the hull, faintly glowing where the metal had buckled. The holoscreen magnified the glyphs, looping curves and interlocking triangles. Surrounding the 13-point star emblem, Captain's log update, Thalara said into her comm. We are in position. Signal strength is peaking. I'm authorizing a remote drone sweep before any boarding party goes in. Maximum caution. Understood, Commander. Came the voice of Ensign Farrell, the ship's drone specialist. Moments later, the drone bay lights flickered and a quartet of sleek recon probes launched into the wreck field. Each was winged with delicate sensor rays that unfolded like steel butterflies. Thalara joined Communications Officer Malus at her console as data poured in. Image feeds. Malus instructed. On the holoscreen, one drone's feed settled. On the command ship's hull, a colossal airlock hatch sat ajar. Its inner mechanisms rusted but primed. Beyond lay a long corridor, its walls peppered with scorched paneling and dark stains that might have been oxidized fuel. Or something far more ominous. Overlay spectral scans, Thalara ordered. Bluish bands highlighted residual energy conduits. Running along the corridor, they lead to a power core just beyond 50 meters from this hatch. Its still warm thermo readings around 30 degrees Celsius. Something revived them recently. Lieutenant Rail's eyes gleamed with adrenaline. Could be minutes ago on their timeline, or centuries, Thalara replied. She keyed her comstick. Drone Alpha, sweep forward. Emit a coded query. We come in peace. Respond if you can. Then circle back. As the drone drifted into the hull breach, a ripple of static filled the speakers, then a human voice, hoarse and distant. Gen-Era-TION. 13. Stand by for identity confirmation. A hush fell across the bridge. The voice crackled, fragmented by damaged comm hardware, yet distinct enough to send a shiver through every listener. Humanity's own accent, warped. By time and space.tha Lara steadied herself. Open a two-way channel. Patch us through, on it. Malus answered, fingers dancing. The speakers emitted a high-pitched whine as they synchronized with the ancient subspace frequency. Moments later, the voice resolved itself into full clarity. I am Lieutenant Commander Celine Dirac of the 13th Expeditionary Fleet. All ships, awaken, stand down or prepare to receive boarding protocols. Thalara inhaled, mind racing. Lieutenant Commander Dirac, this is Commander Thalara Orin of the Valarian exploratory frigate Vigilant Dawn. We received your distress signal. We mean you no harm. A pause, then Dirac's voice again, firmer. Your ship is unauthorized. Identity verification required. Transmit code Delta-7-9. Rail frowned. That code is from the human. Secondary Archives Level 3 clearance. We don't have it. Cipher it manually, Thalara said. Redirect our ship's encryption keys through the archive interface. We'll generate a provisional authentication. The crew worked in silent urgency as the Vigilant Dawn's systems interfaced with the ancient human. Protocols on the main screen, lines of gibberish scrolled, then resolved into the triangular emblem of the 13th Fleet. Pulsing brighter, the speakers crackled. Verification accepted. You are no threat. Stand by for boarding instructions. A three-dimensional schematics map of the command ship materialized on the holoscreen sections of corridors, power nodes, and cryostasis chambers marked in blinking amber. It showed a route from the airlock directly to a vast central hall labeled The archive vault. Boarding protocols follow standard procedures, Derak's voice continued. Each Valarian officer will be fitted with temporary environmental suits. Our atmosphere is laden with particulate organisms. Tolerable, but not compatible with Valarian biology. Proceed with caution. Thalara exhaled, relief and wonder mingling. In her chest, understood. Prepare to teams, one to escort the boarding party and one to secure the external docking collar. I'll lead the first team, as the Vigilant Dawn maneuvered into position. Its docking clamps latched onto the human ship's hull, depressurization sensors cycled, and the massive airlock door ground open. A pale, sickly green light spilled into the docking bay as both crews activated their auxiliary lights. Thalara led her officers across the threshold, the hiss of decompression still echoing in her ears. The air felt viscous, carrying microscopic motes that sparkled like fine dust in the beam of her helmet lamp. She coughed once, then tapped her calm, air composition nominal, humidity high, respiratory irritants detected. Helmets only, Lieutenant Rail signaled the rear guard. Hull breaches stabilized. We have power to the corridor lights dim, but functional. Ahead, Derak emerged tall, austere, with steel-gray eyes that held centuries of vigilance. Her uniform, though faded, bore the 13-star insignia of Supreme Command. Commander Oren. She greeted, voice softening. Welcome aboard. Follow me. They moved down the corridor, the walls embossed with intricate bas-reliefs chronicling humanity's rise, colonization fleets leaving farm worlds, diplomatic envoys amid starfield backdrops, armadas at full battle stations. In some panels, figures in advanced exosuits forged crystalline energy weapons. In others, scholars transcribed volumes of interstellar lore. These were carved in the early 2300s. Derek explained, before the betrayal, our empire was vast, our archives unmatched, but the Dominion, they feared what we knew. Thalara traced a figure polishing a crystalline device, energy phase disruptor. Yes, Derek said grimly, versatile, powerful. We used it to shatter Dominion dreadnoughts, but in return, they unleashed subspace torpedoes that crippled our stasis arrays. They emerged into the archive vault, a cathedral-like chamber, spanning the length of 3 Commodore-class vessels. Shelves of crystalline data cubes floated in zero-G display frames. Sealed compartments contained scrolls of living organic memory. Vines, at the far end, to colossal cryohambers loomed, their surfaces etched with frost and glowing softly. Derek gestured. Here lie the key archives. 2 million souls in stasis, scholars, diplomats, engineers. If we cannot restore this data, an entire civilization's memory will be lost. Thalara stepped forward, awestruck. We'll help you salvage every bit. Our scientists will analyze the vines, and our engineers can interface with your data. Frames. Derek inclined her head, gratitude shining in her eyes. Then let us begin. The Dominion will not wait forever. Outside, the Vigilant Dawn's external sensors detected a silent ripple in subspace, a harbinger that the Dominion's pursuit was imminent. But within these vaults of memory and metal, Valarian and human alike labored side by side, bound by a shared reverence for knowledge and survival. And as the stasis doors of the first cryochamber hissed open, slivers of blue light bleeding into the gloom, Commander Thalara Oren realized that this was only the beginning. Humanity's legend had awakened, and now its story would be written anew, one life at a time. A Lohum vibrated through the hull of the 13th Fleet's command ship, as the ancient fusion cores choked to life in the dim corridors of the triangular flagship. Banks of conduit-lined walls glowed, from black to cobalt blue, then surged with golden phosphors as dormant power channels reopened. The hiss of vented steam mingled with the rhythmic thrum of recharging gravitic stabilizers. Commander Thalara Oren watched in awe from the viewport of the Vigilant Dawn's docking bay. All around her, the graves of a forgotten armada blinked. Awake, one by one, the hulks that had drifted lifeless for centuries began to flicker, sensor rays swiveling, weapon turrets realigning, thruster clusters venting pent-up propellant. Dozens of human vessels, cruisers, frigates, carriers rippled with reinvigorated energy. The pulse of 1,000 reactivated engines carved a glowing lattice into the void. "It's breathtaking," Lieutenant Rail whispered, his usual reserve broken by wonder. Thalara nodded. A sleeping giant stirs. She keyed her calm, "All hands. This is Commander Oren. Stand by for coordinated docking operations. We'll secure the outer hulls and establish transfer links." Across the graveyard, human engineering crews once frozen in cryostasis mustered at open hatchways. Clad in silver-etched exosuits, their forms were gaunt from prolonged stasis, yet their eyes burned with purpose as they prepared to reclaim command of their ships. Lieutenant Commander Celine Derac appeared beside Thalara, her posture rigid with centuries-old discipline. "Commander," Derac said, voice low, "our fleet will respond best to direct chain of command. I will marshal my officers. I need Valarian support teams to handle external maintenance and sensor recalibration." "Understood," Thalara replied, gesturing to her bridge staff, Ensign Farrell. "You and Engineer Trox will deploy to the heavy cruiser Aquila's Wakeforth. Vessel Starboard 2 stabilize their warp matrix. Lieutenant Rail and I will board the flagship Command Citadel to assist with power coupling." The two women exchanged a firm nod, a silent pact forged in the quiet hum of renegotiated destiny. First transfer teams, move out in the docking bay. Robotic gantries lifted modular power conduits from the Vigilant Dawn to the flagships. Coupling ports. Erlina, the Vigilance senior engineer, coordinated with her human counterpart, Lieutenant Voss, a weary veteran whose face bore the lines of millennia of conflict. "Clamp those rings closer," Voss barked, fingers dancing across his console. "If these seals don't align to within 2 millimeters, the entire array collapses." Erlina adjusted the gantry arms. "We're within spec. Rerouting 15% of our auxiliary reserves. Good. Divert another 10% once we confirm stable frame integrity." Voss's helmet lamp reflected in his visor as he leaned forward. "You Valarians have nimble systems." "I like that." Erlina allowed herself a small smile. "We learn from the best elsewhere." Rail and Thalara floated through the funnel of the primary airlock, tethered to magnetic handholds along the corridor. The interior of the flagship was a cathedral of polished alloy, its vast cylindrical chambers ringed with dormant cryostasis pods. At the center, a grand dais supported the Fleet Council's amphitheater, carved with the names of every vessel in the 13th Expeditionary Fleet. "Every voice," Rail mused, "recorded here in bas-relief. Every sacrifice," Thalara corrected him softly. She moved to a console at the dais's edge. "We need to re-energize the central node." "Working on it." Rail knelt beside her, inputting the provisional decryption code. The holo indicators around the dais flickered from red to yellow to green. Power surged upward, illuminating the etched names in pure white light. All at once, a low chime resonated through the chamber. The stasis pods lining the walls began to hiss open, releasing clouds of inert gas and revealing figures shrouded in white nanofiber blankets. Soldiers, scientists, diplomats. Over 2 million souls stirred, blinking beneath the glare of awakened life. A woman in a naval officer's dress uniform shook her head, hair matted from cryogal. Her expression sharpened as she took in the Valarian visitors. "Identify yourselves," she commanded, her voice echoing against the metal. Thalara stepped forward, hands raised in peace. "I am Commander Thalara Oren of the Valarian Exploratory Frigate Vigilant Dawn. We received your distress signal and have come to aid in the reactivation of your fleet." The woman's steel-gray eyes narrowed. "Your kind dismissed us as myth. Why help now?" Thalara met her gaze evenly. "Because legends deserve their truth, and because the dominion that struck you sleeps no more." Recognition dawned in the officer's eyes. She lowered her guard, voice softer. "Lieutenant Celine Derac," she said, introducing herself. "Thank you, Commander. We shall need your alliance if we are to stand rallying the fleet over the next hours." Corridors once silent for a millennium thrummed with renewed purpose. Human crews resumed their stations. Bridge officers took their posts. Engineers calibrated warp drives. Munitions teams loaded crystalline disruptor cells into banks of launchers. Valarian technicians worked in tandem, their scanners mapping every system parameter, their manuals cross-referencing human specifications with uncanny speed. In the flagship's war room, a domed chamber layered with holo projections of nearby star systems. The Newly resurrected Fleet Council convened. Derek presided from a floating daze. Upgraded holo-emblems of the 13-star crest circling her like constellations. Thalara occupied a seat to her right, the lone Valarian observer. Status report, Derek commanded. Lieutenant Reiser, the chief tactical officer, stood. On the holo map, dozens of vessels once inert flared into view. All key ships are online. Propulsion at 80%, weapons at 68%, shields pending field calibrations. Our archives vault remains sealed until the Dominion threat is addressed. Derek nodded. Good. Valarian scans indicate Dominion units approaching. At sharpshift our term for slipstream entry within 2 hours. A murmur rippled through the assembled officers. Derek raised a hand. We cannot risk another betrayal. Our priority: reclaim the archive vault and secure the data cores. Then we will counterattack. Commander Oren, your fleet's stealth capabilities will be critical in interdiction. Thalara inclined her head. We can deploy scout corvettes to flank their advance. Create false sensor signatures to mask your fleet's movements. Derek's eyes gleamed. Excellent. Prepare your crews for rapid deployment. The Valarian frigate squadrons will integrate with our wing units. As the meeting adjourned, Derek leaned close to Thalara. You have my gratitude. The 13th Fleet will honor this bond. Thalara allowed herself a moment of relief. May our unity be stronger than their deception. The first strike outside the flagship's hull, in the cold expanse between drifting wrecks. Valarian corvettes slid into position, cloaked in a refractive stealth field. They flanked the path by which the Dominion's vanguard would emerge. Human beam frigates hovered in silent ambush, their disruptor banks primed to unleash focused plasma bolts. On the bridge of the Vigilant Dawn, Thalara watched the holomap. As tiny red icons advanced along the slipstream node, the first Dominion ships, a pair of dreadnoughts, materialized in the gravitic slipstream, their black hulls bristling with Glyve cannons. Advanced scout unit to engage, Thalara ordered. Signal frequency Delta 5. Channel through Valarian stealth nets. A corvette slipped from the shadows, its elongated prow slicing into the slipstream eddy. As the dreadnoughts solidified in normal space, the corvette uncloaked and launched a salvo of electromagnetic pulse drones. The swarm engulfed the lead dreadnought, shorting its primary shields and leaving its armor vulnerable. Target the exposed port shields. Derek's voice crackled over the comm. Valarians, hold your fire until I give the mark. Copy that, Thalara replied. A thunderous volley of plasma disruptors lanced from the human frigates, scoring direct hits on the crippled dreadnought's bow. Armor plates ruptured in fiery blooms, and the behemoth listed, its engines flaming out as it spiraled into the void. Behind them, the second dreadnought veered to intercept the ambush. Valarian frigates uncloaked en masse, their particle lances surging to full power. The corridor of fire carved a path through the Dominion line, creating a corridor for the human fleet to pour through. Excellent, Derek praised. Now full throttle, forge ahead to target the slipstream generator. A flotilla of human carriers hurled fighter wings into the fray, while Valarian gunboats provided cover. They tore through escort ships like meteors through haze. Every piercer cannon and disruptor blast a testament to rediscovered martial prowess. In minutes, the slipstream generator, a massive ring array orbiting a small moon, was within weapons range. Derek's flagship dropped out of slipspace and unleashed a gravitic singularity torpedo. The weapon tore open a micro-wormhole at the base of the generator, collapsing its field in a cascade of implosive energy. Warning sirens blared across the human fleet as the slipstream collapsed behind them. The Dominion reinforcements, stranded in regular space, found themselves scattered and leaderless. Stand down, Derek ordered, voice laced with triumph. We hold the field. A new dawn as the smoke of battle cleared. The combined Valarian human fleet regrouped. Wreckage drifted between them, the aftermath of a clash that had erupted without warning. Yet in the ruin lay hope. The stasis gates were secure, the archives intact, and the Dominion's advance stalled.
On the deck of the flagship, Thalara and Derek surveyed the scene through reinforced glass. The human admiral rested a hand on Thalara's shoulder. You have changed the fate of our people, Commander. Thalara met her gaze. We did this. Together, the legends of humanity have become our reality. Darak's stern features cracked into a rare smile. Then let us forge the next chapter one of unity, not myth. Above them, the 13-point star on the flagship's prow gleamed. Anew, a beacon of rekindled power. In the void beyond, the derelict graveyard stood witness to the Armada's rebirth. And as the combined fleets set course for the archive vault, they carried with them a shared resolve. Never again would humanity and its allies be lost to Legend Asterisk. The combined Valerian-human armada, bristling with renewed purpose, emerged from the battered graveyard like a phoenix rising from ashes. Against the inky backdrop of the Orion expanse, 13 human command ships formed the spearhead, flanked by sleek Valerian frigates and corvettes. Their destination lay ahead, the Dominion staging point at the shattered world of Calypso 4, where intelligence suggested the enemy massed its dreadnought, task force to strike back, the calm before the storm in the flagship's Grand War room. Admiral Celine Darak and Commander Thalara Orin stood before a holomap of Calypso IV's fractured orbits. Glittering arcs traced the slipstream lanes by which the Dominion would inevitably arrive. Beneath them, icons marked Valerian missile, platforms and human defense grids, all ready to funnel the enemy into a lethal crossfire. Time is short, Darak said, her tone clipped. Our scouts detect 3 Dominion carriers and 4 battlecruisers arriving in less than 60 standard minutes. They'll spearhead a strike to retake this sector. Thalara adjusted the projection. We can't let them break through. If the Dominion gains Calypso's slipstream hub, they'll sever access to the entire expanse and compromise your newly awakened archives. Yes, Darak nodded. We hold here, or everything we fought for slips away. A hush fell. Officers exchanged anxious glances. Then, with a measured breath, Thalara squared her shoulders. Then we meet them head-on. Valerian vessels will form the outer phalanx, drawing their initial volleys. The human fleet will counter-strike from the flanks, using your gravitic. Torpedoes to punch holes in their lines. Our missile platforms will ambush them as they close range. It's a 3-layer trap. Darak's eyes shone. And when they press past that, then we engage the final gambit, a coordinated phase shift assault on their carriers' warp cores. Blow them wide open, and their fleet will be leaderless. The officers snapped to attention, dispersing to their stations. Outside, the fleet began forming into battle arrays. In the docking bays, Valerian and human engineers loaded the last of the crystalline disruptor charges. The air crackled with anticipation, but also with a silent reverence. This would be the battle that cemented humanity's return from myth-dot clash at Calypso's gate orbiting Calypso 4, under a canopy of shattered asteroid rings, the Valerian. Missile platforms glowed with latent energy. As the first Dominion dreadnoughts bled out of slipspace, the platforms fired in unison a barrage of hypervelocity projectiles, slicing through vacuum toward the advancing fleet. Explosions rippled through the enemy squadrons, hulls ripping apart in starlight. Admiral Darak's flagship triggered its gravitic singularity projectors. Twin torpedoes warped across space, detonating inside the flank of a carrier and ripping a yawning hole through its hangar bays. Carriers lost fighters in cascading debris, leaving the Dominion task force with fractured air cover. Valerian frigates, sleek and agile, darted between the explosion plumes. Their particle lances crackled, blue-white as they skittered along the enemy's vanguard, absorbing return fire with composite deflectors. Behind them, human cruisers unleashed disciplined broadsides of plasma disruptors, scoring precision hits on bridge domes and weapons banks dot in the gloom of space. The enemy's black silhouettes strove against the glare of annihilation. Battlecruisers pitched and rolled, unleashing volleys that carved rifts in the Valerian phalanx. Shattered frigates tumbled toward the planet's ringed surface like falling meteors. Alarms blared aboard every friendly vessel as the price of war mounted. The trap held. As the Dominion carriers pressed forward to board the stasis vaults once more, human strike wings, launched from the surviving carriers, swept in low, their phase-weave torpedoes arcing beneath anti-fighter screens. 2 more carriers blinked, out in violet firestorms, their bridges imploding from within. The final gambit with their carriers gone, the Dominion dreadnought group faltered. Sensing victory, Admiral Derek issued the code. Phase Shift Assault Execute. Thousands of human and Valerian vessels shifted into phase space, their hulls shimmering as they edged beyond the normal fabric of reality. The effect was disorienting. Weapons fire passed harmlessly through them, while their own disruptor beams tore into Phase Dominion cores in one colossal wave. The Allied fleet materialized within meters of the enemy dreadnoughts. Gravimetric charges detonating. In perfect synchronization, sheared through armored plating and gravity well generators. The flagship of the enemy command, once the terror of the Vale-Nur Dominion, erupted in a silent supernova, its warp core imploding in a cascade of black holes that dissolved the remaining enemy vessels in the vicinity. Valerian command. Ships, riding the recoil, surged forward to collect survivors and secure the field. Human engineers patched phase rift fractures, stabilizing the nexus of space around Calypso 4 and preventing further contagion of dimensional instability. Aftermath and resolution as the last Dominion ship flickered out of existence. A profound silence blanketed the void. The Allied fleet regrouped, battered but victorious. In the distance, Calypso 4's shattered rings glowed with refracted light from its parent star. A silent witness to the now endured conflict. On the bridge of the human flagship, Admiral Derek and Commander Orn surveyed the aftermath through broad viewports. Below them, Valerian and human crews moved in coordinated relief operations, repairing hull breaches, salvaging data cores, and orchestrating medical triage for wounded soldiers. Derek turned to Thalara, her battle-hardened features softened. By relief, this victory, it's more than military success. It's proof that our knowledge and unity can conquer even the greatest deception. Thalara inclined her head. Your fleet's awakening sparked hope across the expanse. But it was our shared conviction, Valerian and human, that forged this triumph. Darak's gaze drifted to the newly erected monument hovering above Calypso's rings. A 13-point star, encircled by interlocking Orcs Valerian glyphs, seamlessly weaving into the ancient human crest. A symbol of our alliance, she. Side.tha Lara smiled. A promise to the future. Epilogue. A new chronicle weeks later, in the restored Grand Hall of the Archive Vault. The crystalline data cubes hummed with verifiable logs of humanity's golden age. Valerian historians and human archivists worked side by side, translating, cross-referencing, and preserving. Ships from both fleets came and went, bearing scholars, diplomats, and engineers eager to learn from the trove of rediscovered lore. Commander Thalara Oren stood before a newly inscribed plaque, now mounted alongside Darak's own honors. To those who believed in legends, we repay your faith with reality. Beside her, Admiral Celine Derek placed a hand on the Valerian's shoulder. Our peoples have rewritten history together, she said softly. May this be the first of many chapters. Thalara's eyes gleamed with possibility. And may our story echo through the void, not as a cautionary myth, but as living testament to unity, knowledge, and hope. Above them, the 13 stars of the emblem pulsed gently, a heartbeat that would never fall silent again. In the vast darkness, the legacy of humans and Valerians shone onward, guiding the way for all who dared to dream beyond the edge of known space.